the inspiration for Dreams actually started when I was working elsewhere and I left and was really trying to discern what I wanted to do next with my life, though I really loved working with this population. And there were two families, the Sheen family and the Nazer family, that approached me and said, you really need to think about starting something new. I have a son, Derek, who has Down syndrome, and of course, I was very invested in assuring that his future was as bright as it could be. And so, with continued encouragement from Mary Sheen and Jane Nazer, I just decided maybe that would be a good idea. So I would say early January of 2000, I started working on writing bylaws, articles, filing for our 501c3, so we could be a not-for-profit, because I knew it would take grant funding for us to be successful. And I relied on lots of family and friends to do that. People came out of the woodwork to help us write the articles, write the bylaws. I had a gratis attorney, Mr. Foley, who helped write our application for our 501c3. So all of that came through in June of 2000. We determined a set of people to be our first set of board members. It included myself, Mary Sheen, Jane Nazer, Jane Emke, Mildred Pruitt, who also happened to be my aunt, and Marge Hillenmeyer. So we were the core group to begin with. We had no budget. However, my husband and I bought an apartment building over in St. Matthews because we knew for us to be able to fundraise and have the opportunity for people to see us as a viable organization, we would need to have bricks and mortar and really be serving people. So there were 4 identified people. It was Andy, Sherry, Joni, and Nancy, who are our first 4 residents who moved into our Nans Avenue apartment. And they moved in July. Our first employee was a gal named Michelle Winstead, who actually did some what we call now community living supports. She supported them a few hours a week in their apartment so they could live independently. Probably my biggest challenge was a personal one, in that I laugh sometimes and say I gave birth to Dreams with Wings and my twins within a 2-month period. I have twin daughters, Gretchen and Sophia, that were not due until the end of October, but they were born in mid-July. And so the opportunity for just really investing myself in working full-time those first few months was really difficult, because they were in the neonatal intensive care unit until early September of 2000. The other challenges really were just ensuring that those 4 people were taken care of, and then trying to move forward with the other things we needed to do. So I did take that time to start writing applications to the Department of what we now call DDID, the Division of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, to become a waiver provider. And we also wrote a grant to 7 county services, who at the time was encouraging providers to start because there was such a waiting list for services. So from that grant application, we did get a $25,000 startup grant that we applied towards the salary of the individual we had hired. It didn't take long for the vision to evolve, because my background and experience at the time was residential services. And what I did know from the families that encouraged me to start something is that we needed to be an organization that was there for families when their children needed us most, in particular when they had nowhere else to go and their families were gone. We also wanted to be a place where they felt like it was home, and that the people they lived with were their families. And so We just didn't want to be a roof over somebody's head. That part really was relatively easy. What we quickly discovered with people, because ironically enough, about the same time the state of Kentucky was moving to close institutions, large facilities, and so two of the ladies that lived in our first staff residence, Cindy and Mary, were moved back home from Bowling Green. They lived in a facility called Panorama to Louisville. And so then we had to start looking for things for them to do during the day. And in our looking at those opportunities, almost everywhere we went, people were just sitting in big rooms watching TV. And I had the wonderful opportunity to interview and hire Carolyn Benton, who interviewed for a residential position but had no background. But she had worked extensively in day training and vocational development. So we started a day program so people would have a meaningful place to go. It is funny because one of the challenges may have been everything was in my house. We didn't have money for an office or a space, so we turned my basement into our office, and our day program operated out of there for the first 7 months until we had so many people, my dining room wasn't a functional place to have it anymore. And then we moved to Calvary Lutheran Church, where we had a partnership with that church, and we're able to expand our day program.